There is a particular kind of peace that only exists within the walls you know by heart. The light that falls through your window at 3 p.m., the silence that wraps around you like a second skin. The world outside moves fast, loud, relentless, but inside, time bends differently. It slows, it breathes. For some, home is not a place they return to, it is the place they never want to leave. Not out of fear, not out of weakness, but because somewhere along the way, they discovered that the deepest kind of living doesn't require distance, it requires depth. And depth, they learned, can be found in stillness, in the same four walls, in the quiet company of themselves. This is not about hiding, this is about something far more intentional. It is about choosing inward over outward, presence over performance, and in a world that glorifies constant motion, that choice feels almost revolutionary. There is something almost primal about the pull of home, not just the building, not just the address, but the feeling of it. The way your body softens the moment you close the door behind you, the way your breath slows, the way the noise in your head finally quiets. For people who love staying at home, this is not laziness, it is not avoidance, it is relief. It is the ending of a performance they didn't realize they were giving. The world outside demands so much. It demands eye contact and small talk and energy you don't always have. It demands you to be on, to smile at the right moments, to laugh at the right jokes, to exist in a way that makes others comfortable. And for some, that constant negotiation between who they are and who they're expected to be is exhausting. Not dramatic, not theatrical, just quietly, persistently draining. So they come home, and they stay. Psychology calls this the need for environmental control. When the outside world feels unpredictable, chaotic, or overstimulating, the mind seeks refuge in spaces it can predict, spaces it can shape, spaces where nothing is asked of you except to exist as you are. Home becomes the one place where you don't have to translate yourself, you don't have to explain, you don't have to adjust, you can just be. And for highly sensitive people, those with nervous systems that process stimuli more deeply, this need is even stronger. Dr. Elaine Aron's research on sensory processing sensitivity shows that roughly 20% of the population experiences the world with heightened emotional and sensory awareness. Bright lights feel brighter, loud sounds feel louder, social interactions, even pleasant ones, require more cognitive and emotional resources. For them, home is not just comfort, it is necessity. It is the place where their system can finally regulate, where the volume of life turns down. But there's more to it than that. Staying home is also an act of sovereignty. In a culture that equates busyness with worth, choosing to stay in is a quiet rebellion. It says, I will not perform productivity for you. I will not justify my rest. I will not apologize for needing less than you think I should. And that takes a kind of courage the world rarely acknowledges. Because the truth is, people who love staying home are often deeply misunderstood. They are called antisocial, boring, depressed, unmotivated. But those labels miss the point entirely. These are not people hiding from life. They are people who have learned where life, for them, actually happens. And it happens in the small moments. The slow mornings, the books they read in the corner of their couch, the meals they cook with no one watching, the thoughts they think without interruption, the creativity that blooms in silence. Home, for them, is not a cage. It is a canvas, a laboratory, a temple. It is where they do their most honest thinking, their most vulnerable feeling, their most authentic living, and they have learned that the world's definition of a full life, travel, networking, parties, constant motion does not fit the shape of their soul, so they stop trying to force it. Still, there is a shadow side. Sometimes the love of home tips into something else, into avoidance, into isolation, into the kind of withdrawal that comes not from peace, but from fear. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of being seen and found lacking. And when that happens, home stops being a sanctuary and becomes a hiding place. The line between the two is thin, and only the person inside knows which side they're on. But for those who have found genuine peace in staying in, there is no guilt, no nagging voice that says they should be somewhere else. They have made peace with their own rhythm. They have stopped apologizing for needing what they need. And they have discovered something the rest of the world is still chasing. That contentment is not found in the next experience, the next destination, the next event. It is found in the ability to be fully present, exactly where you are, and sometimes where you are is home, and that is enough. There is a strange loneliness that comes from being surrounded by people who don't understand you, not because they are cruel, not because they don't care, but because the way you are wired, the way you recharge, the way you think, the way you love does not fit the template they recognize. And so they worry. They ask if you're okay. They tell you that you need to get out more. They say things like, you can't just stay inside all the time. As if solitude were a disease, as if quiet was something to be cured. But people who love staying home know something the extroverted world often forgets. Solitude is not loneliness. Stillness is not stagnation. And being alone does not mean being empty. The confusion begins with a cultural bias. Western society, particularly, has built itself around extroversion. The ideal person is outgoing, social, energized by crowds, quick to speak, comfortable in chaos. Schools reward the child who raises their hand first. Workplaces promote the employee who networks best. Social media celebrates the life that looks the busiest. And in that landscape, the person who prefers their own company is seen as lacking, broken, in need of fixing. But neuroscience tells a different story. Introversion is not a flaw. It is a fundamental difference in how the brain processes dopamine and stimulation. Research by Dr. Marty Olson-Laney shows that introverts have longer neural pathways for processing information, meaning their brains require more time and more internal space to think, reflect, and recharge. They are not less social. They are differently social. Their energy is finite, and they spend it carefully. For introverts, social interaction is like spending currency. Each conversation, each gathering, each moment of external engagement costs something, not because they don't enjoy it, but because it requires effort in a way that solitude does not. And when that currency runs out, they need to retreat, to refill, to return to the internal world where their thoughts can unfold without interruption. This is not dysfunction, this is design. And yet, the questions persist. Don't you get bored? Don't you feel lonely? What do you even do all day? As if a life lived quietly is somehow less real, less full, less valid. But those who live it know otherwise. They know that boredom is a luxury, a signal that the mind has space to wonder, to create. They know that loneliness is not the absence of people, but the absence of connection. And you can feel deeply connected to yourself, to your thoughts, to the worlds you build in your own head. There is a richness to the inner life that the constantly outward-facing person never gets to experience. The homebody knows this richness intimately. They know the texture of their own thoughts, the landscapes of their imagination, the conversations they have with themselves that are more honest, more complex, more interesting than half the small talk they'd encounter outside. They read, they write, they think, they feel, they create entire universes in the privacy of their own mind. And that too is living. Susan Cain, in her research on introversion, describes this internal focus as a superpower. Introverts are more likely to engage in deep thinking, to notice subtleties others miss, to process emotions with care and precision. They are not running from the world. They are studying it, digesting it, making sense of it in ways that require silence and space. And then, when they do speak, when they do share, what they offer is often more thoughtful, more considered, more true. But even they can forget this. Even they can internalize the world's judgment. Even they can start to wonder if something is wrong with them, if they should force themselves out more, if they should say yes when they want to say no, if they should perform extroversion to prove they are not broken. And that is when the real damage happens, not in the staying home, but in the guilt that comes with it. The turning point comes when they stop apologizing, when they stop explaining, when they realize that their love of home is not something to defend, it is simply who they are, and that who they are is not less than, it is different, and different is not a deficit. There is a Japanese concept called hikikomori, originally used to describe extreme social withdrawal, but now also understood as part of a broader cultural acceptance of solitary lifestyles. In Japan, there is less judgment around those who choose quieter, more inward lives. The idea that a person can find fulfillment without constant social engagement is not seen as strange. It is simply seen as one way to live. And maybe that is what the homebodies of the world are quietly teaching the rest of us. That there is no single blueprint for a meaningful life. That some people bloom in crowds, and some bloom in silence. That some need the world to feel alive, and some need only themselves. And both are valid, both are whole, both are enough. So the next time someone asks, "Don't you want to go out?" the answer might simply be, "No, I'm already where I want to be." And in that answer, there is no apology, no explanation, just the quiet confidence of a person who knows themselves, who trusts themselves, who has learned that the most important place you can ever arrive is not somewhere out there, it is here, at home, with yourself.